Unlike Kanan, Kimahri did receive. So while the feat is interesting and progressive, I do not feel it really factors into his perpetual fighting style.
The more dazzling the diamond.
Unlike Kanan, Kimahri did receive some pretty significant accolades from her former master. Kimahri Vosa, in a way, was a prototype Asajj Ventress, style and all. As a default, she paired two curved lightsabers in a Jar-Kai technique and received some pretty significant accolades from her former master. Kimahri Vosa, in a way, was a prototype Asajj Ventress, style and all. As a default, she paired two curved lightsabers in a Jar-Kai technique and received some pretty significant accolades from her former master. Kimahri Vosa, in a way, was a prototype Asajj Ventress, style and all. As a default, she paired two curved lightsabers in a Jar-Kai technique. She was quite acrobatic, and she had no trouble deflecting and redirecting blaster fire. The main difference between her and Ventress, perhaps, is refinement, where Ventress was able to contend and test her might against some of the best fighters of the time. Vosa left the Jedi Order before she could do this. When fighting Darth Maul, the Zabrak indicated her use of Jar-Kai was predictable. This is something I'm sure Dooku would have corrected through continued training, much like he did with Grievous, advising the use of the Unorthodox to defeat her enemies. That said, she was still very effective when fighting the Mandalorians on Galadron, putting up a fight against Darth Maul, and contending with Jango Fett, all of which were noted Jedi killers. So it's not as though she was without talent or ability with a lightsaber. Contention with Maul was significant, even in his injured state. She was able to match all of his attacks, using her agility and speed to meet his strikes. But once Maul put on his serious pants, employing Juyo, the final form of lightsaber combat, against her defense, Kimahri was easily whittled down. This indicates that Kimahri, much like Ventress, could contend with top-tier duelists, at least presenting a challenge. But once their foe's combative mastery kicked in, there wasn't much they could do. But there is a fundamental difference between Vosa and Ventress. While both favored agility and precision, Kimahri leaned more on haste and dexterity, while Asajj supplemented her own agility with the precision of Makashi. My assumption would be that Vosa had some sort of skill with the form, as her master was the poster boy of the technique, but it never seemed to carry over for her like it did for Ventress.
Here they come now.
Based on the type of opponents they faced, and the challenges they presented to their enemies, they favored Kimahri, but their skill levels are not that far from each other, and Kanan has expressed an ability to boost his output both. In terms of a style comparison, usually I would favor Kanan's style, as it was built around waiting for his opponent to slip up. However, his use of the style was a bit too passive, when I would think he was a more proactive fighter, considering his time as a scoundrel. Sure, there were times when he turned his passive wall into an assertive counter, such as his final fight with the Grand Inquisitor, and his brief blind fight with Darth Maul. Yes, I stated I would not be using Blind Kanan, but I still feel it validates my point that Kanan does not elevate his skill until he is driven to trust in the Force. Yet in the realm of consistency, it's not enough to comfortably back him. Kimahri is a talented fighter, but she's only really faced an indie version of Darth Maul. The question is how contingent with Maul would translate to Kanan. Her advantages are her speed and agility, something a Form 3 specialist can contend with. But Kanan isn't exactly a master of the Force, so the other angle to take this is if Kanan can penetrate Kimahri's own defenses. Of the two events, I find it more likely for Kimahri to overwhelm Kanan than for Jaris to undermine Vosa. I would not call it out of the question for Kimahri to overextend herself, leaving herself open, but she would likely have already generated an effective offense against Kanan's less refined defensive form. Kimahri Vosa gets a slight edge for her dueling ability. Have already generated an effective offense against Kanan's lesser refined defensive form. Kimahri Vosa gets the slight edge for her dueling ability.
Some uninvited. That was fine. Thanks.
Kanan and Kimahri were two Jedi that never reached knighthood. They were both unrefined, serving their own unique paths as a rebel scoundrel to make Polthier. If they ever were to meet in open combat, who would come out on top? Let's have this fight. Let's see who takes place in the temple of Alia Darzan. The following is a hypothetical explanation of the possible outcome. First, let's look at the early fight. I think it goes without question that Kimahri would press her attack first, Kanan taking his signature defensive stance. I don't think Kanan will be completely overwhelmed by Kimahri's aggressive assault, keeping true to the tight and efficient blocks of Form 3. But there is a possibility that she can take an early advantage through her sheer tenacity. Considering Kanan can contend with the Inquisitor's strange and erratic weapons, I feel he could hold out against Kimahri, at least initially. But I don't see him mounting any kind of early counter against her, as it usually took him some time to wheel down his opponents with his conservative style. In the early fight, I see Kimahri taking a 1-0 advantage over Kanan. Kanan ending the fight so early is unlikely, and even though Kimahri's aggressive and more reputable style could penetrate Kanan, I do not think she would likely break his guard so early, even with his intermediate use, Suresu. The mid-fight would be more of the same, but there is a greater possibility of Kanan finding an opening against Kimahri. Now, Kanan will start setting up counters, letting Vosa's impassioned blade work compromise her defense. That said, I'm not sure these counters will be enough to win him the fight, only tagging the Sith wannabe with a kick, slowing down her assault, but not ending it. What's more, Kimahri has shown that her speed and reflex can match such counters, even from a more accomplished duelist in Darth Maul. In the fight, I see Kimahri taking a full 2 advantage. Like with Maul, Kimahri was only taken down when the Sith fucked up and used his best form against her. With Kanan, he has no such offensive output, never truly overwhelming his enemy. Well, that is, not in his normal state, which leads us to the late fight. In the late fight, desperation and irritation might set in for Kanan and Kimahri, respectively.
Yes! $20-0. That's what I'm talking about.